Hey Virgo, welcome back to your channel. Um, okay.
I need you to sit down for this because what I'm about to share with you is so profound that I literally cried while tuning into it. There's something happening in your life right now, in this exact moment. That's so significant you won't fully comprehend it until you look back months from now. Your entire life is changing, not in some distant future right now, today. As you're reading this, welcome back. It's Anna. And I cried because what I'm picking up on is the weight of transformation you're carrying without even recognizing how heavy it is. You're in the middle of the most important shift of your life and you're treating it like just another day. But it's not just another day. Nothing will be the same after this. Let me tell you why this is hitting me so hard right now. You may be experiencing something currently that feels overwhelming, not in an obvious crisis way, but in this quiet, persistent way where everything feels different, but you can't name why. Like the axis of your world has shifted and you're still trying to find your balance. Some people describe this as feeling unmoored, like all the anchors they relied on are loosening. All the certainties they built their life around are becoming questionable. All the identities they wore are starting to feel like costumes. It might feel like you're going through your regular routine, but nothing lands the same way it used to. Coffee doesn't taste right. Conversations feel hollow. The things that used to matter feel trivial. The life you were living feels like someone else's life that you're watching from outside. Let me just pause here because I need you to understand the magnitude of what's present. This reflection invites you to consider, what if you're not losing your mind? What if you're actually waking up? What if this disorientation isn't breakdown but breakthrough? You may be questioning everything right now: your choices, your relationships, your career, your purpose, your entire trajectory. And you've been trying to stop the questions, trying to get back to certainty, trying to make things feel solid again. But what if the questioning is the point? What if your entire foundation needed to be shaken so you could rebuild it properly? It's possible you're currently experiencing grief without a clear object. You're mourning something, but you can't name what. You feel lost, but nothing specific has been lost. You're crying at random moments for reasons you can't articulate. That's not weakness. That's not you falling apart. That's you releasing versions of yourself that don't fit anymore. That's you shedding skins you've outgrown. In some situations, transformation feels like death before it feels like rebirth. You're in the death part, the part where everything that was feels like it's ending. And you can't see yet what's beginning because you're still mourning what's ending. Hold on. I need to be really honest with you about something. There's this quality in your current experience that feels like dissolution, like the boundaries of who you thought you were are becoming permeable, like the story you've been telling about yourself is falling apart and you don't have a new story yet. It's possible you're having moments where you look in the mirror and barely recognize yourself, not physically necessarily, but energetically, like you're becoming someone you don't know yet, someone you can't quite grab onto. And that's terrifying because we want to know who we are. We want our identity to be stable. We want to be able to answer the question, who am I, with confidence. But right now you can't. Right now, the only honest answer is, I don't know anymore. Some people fight this dissolution with everything they have. They try to force themselves back into the old identity. They panic and grab for familiar patterns, even when those patterns don't fit anymore. You may be doing this, trying to be who you were, even though who you were doesn't exist anymore. This reflection invites you to consider, what if letting go of who you were is the only way to become who you're meant to be? It might feel like you're losing yourself, but what if you're actually finding yourself? What if the person you thought you were was just a collection of other people's expectations and survival strategies, and the real you is emerging now? Raw and unfamiliar and true. Let me talk about what this transformation actually looks like in daily life. It's possible you're making choices right now that don't make logical sense to anyone, including yourself. Pulling back from people you used to be close to, losing interest in activities you used to love, feeling drawn to completely new things without knowing why. Some people experience this as acting out of character. Their friends don't recognize them. Their family is concerned. They themselves are confused by their own behavior. But what if it's not out of character? What if it's into character? What if you're finally acting like yourself instead of like the person you were trained to be? You may notice you're saying no to things you would have said yes to before. You're speaking up when you would have stayed quiet. You're choosing yourself when you would have chosen others. You're prioritizing your truth when you would have prioritized peace. And people are reacting. They're uncomfortable. They're pushing back. They're trying to remind you of who you used to be, as if that's who you should stay. This reflection invites you to consider who in your life is resisting your transformation. It might feel lonely, like you're changing and everyone else is staying the same, like you're growing and they're asking you to shrink back down, like you're evolving and they're asking you to stay familiar. But loneliness in growth is still growth. Discomfort in truth is still truth. There's something I keep sensing about your capacity right now. It's possible you're handling more than you realize, not just externally, but internally. The amount of psychological and emotional processing you're doing right now is immense. You're reorganizing your entire internal landscape and somehow still showing up to your life. Some people don't recognize their own strength until they look back and see what they survived. But you're surviving it right now. You're in the middle of the hardest part and you're still breathing, still trying, still here. You may feel weak. You may feel like you're barely holding it together. You may feel like everyone else has it more together than you do. But what if your falling apart is actually more courageous than most people's holding together? What if your willingness to question everything is braver than most people's certainty? This reflection invites you to consider, what if you're stronger than you think? Let me slow down and talk about the crying. It's possible you're crying more these days. In the shower, in your car, late at night when no one can see. Random tears that come from nowhere for no reason you can name. Those tears aren't a sign you're broken. They're evidence you're finally feeling. After years of numbing or performing or surviving, you're finally letting yourself feel the full weight of being human. Some people have been holding tears for so long that when they finally come, it's like a dam breaking, years of unexpressed emotion finally getting release. You may be in that release right now, crying for past versions of you who never got to cry, grieving losses you never let yourself grieve, feeling feelings you spent years avoiding, and it hurts. It's exhausting. It feels like it might never stop, but it will. Tears have an end. Release has a bottom. You're not going to feel this raw forever. This reflection invites you to consider, what are you finally letting yourself grieve? It might be specific losses, people you've lost, relationships that ended, dreams that died, versions of your life that never happened. Or it might be more abstract, the loss of innocence, the loss of certainty, the loss of who you thought you were or who you thought you'd become. All of it deserves tears. All of it deserves acknowledgement. All of it matters. There's something about your current state that suggests you're at a pivot point. It's possible the person you're becoming is fundamentally different from the person you were, not just in small ways, but in core ways. Your values are shifting, your priorities are reorganizing, your entire orientation to life is changing. Some people experience this as an identity crisis. They don't know who they are anymore. They can't recognize themselves. They feel like strangers in their own life. You may be in that crisis right now, looking at your life and thinking, who made these choices? Looking at your relationships and thinking, do these still fit? Looking at your path and thinking, is this even where I want to go? And those questions are terrifying because they don't have easy answers. Because answering them honestly might mean changing everything. This reflection invites you to consider, what would you do differently if you were building your life from scratch right now? It might reveal a gap, a distance between the life you're living and the life you'd choose if you were choosing fresh. And that gap, that awareness, that's what's creating all this discomfort. But discomfort is information. It's your system telling you something needs to change. It's your soul saying, this isn't it anymore. Let me talk about what comes after this. I'm not making predictions. I'm talking about what transformation requires. It requires death of the old before birth of the new. It requires releasing what was before, embracing what could be. It's possible you're in the hardest part right now, the part where you've let go but haven't caught hold of anything new yet, the part where you're in free fall, the part where nothing feels solid. Some people quit here. They get so uncomfortable with the uncertainty that they grab back onto the old even though it doesn't fit. They choose familiar misery over unfamiliar possibility. But you're still here. You're still in it. You're still allowing the transformation even though it's terrifying. That matters. That's everything. You may be wondering when this ends, when you get to feel solid again, when the ground stops shaking. And honestly, I don't know. Transformation has its own timeline. But what I do know is that you're in it, you're doing it, and every day you stay in it is a day closer to the other side. This reflection invites you to consider, what if the discomfort you're feeling is evidence that you're on the right path? You remain in complete control of your choices here. You can stop the transformation. You can force yourself back into old patterns. You can numb the feelings and questions and doubts, or you can keep going. You can stay in the discomfort. You can trust that this dissolution is creating space for something new to emerge. The power is yours. It always has been. You may notice just reading this is bringing up emotion, maybe relief that someone sees what you're going through, maybe grief that it's this hard, maybe hope that there's meaning in the struggle. Whatever you're feeling, it's valid. Let yourself feel it. Take what lands, discard what doesn't. Trust what you know in your bones. Before we close, I need to ask you something direct. What part of your old life are you currently grieving? What version of yourself are you saying goodbye to? Drop it in the comments if you need to name it out loud. And this, what would it mean if this falling apart is actually your life coming together in a truer form? What becomes possible if you stop fighting the transformation and start trusting it? I cried because I feel the weight of what you're carrying. Your entire life changes after this. It's already changing right now, in this moment. In every choice you're making to stay present with the discomfort instead of running from it. Not someday, today. Trust yourself with this. Trust that you can handle more than you think. Trust that falling apart is sometimes necessary before you can come together differently. Trust that you're not losing yourself. you're finding yourself. You don't need to have it figured out. You just need to keep breathing through it. I'll see you in the next one. And listen. Transformation isn't pretty. It's not Instagram worthy. It's messy and painful and disorienting, but it's also sacred. And you're in the middle.